he framed an assault on him and coerced the guy that he quote-unquote assaulted to not say anything.
I'm not talking about that wild. Mentally imagine somebody getting his cheese taken. I'm not talking about that. The biggest switch-ups in fiction by Wordy.
Switch-ups. Okay, so switch-ups happen all the time. Whether, something was bad before, now it's good, or vice versa. And while watching a lot of shows and movies or whatever, I noticed that there were a lot of characters that would switch up. Mainly, it was like twist villain, or you thought one of the characters in the movie was the GOAT, and then he just switched up for no reason. Now, the first notable switch up I could think of was Randall from Monsters, Inc. Now, Mike Wazowski and Randall were originally friends. When they first got to Monsters University, they were...
Switch ups in general, I feel like, are some of the craziest things in fiction, bro. Having me sit here and care about somebody, really mess with them, thinking that they are a cool guy, just for later them to be staring down at the protagonist, just to want to do something wild to them. I'm not talking about that wild. Mentally imagine somebody getting his cheese taken. I'm not talking about that. But just trading up on him, just like he's about to talk about Randall, where he went and switched up on Mike. Crazy?
In a room together. And Randall was like the stereotypical nerdy kid from like an 80s movie or whatever. And there was this fraternity on campus. It was called Roar Omega Roar or something like that. And pretty much what happened is Randall started using his powers and he got cool with all these frat kids. And this dude was on some lame ass behavior because he was like, oh, Mike, don't ruin it for me, man. I'm with the cool kids now. Like, bro, shut the fuck up, bro. That shit's so lame. Like, imagine switching up on your day ones because now you're quote unquote in with the cool kids. You just met these dudes, bro. Like, what the hell? After that,
like, you don't know they're about to mess with you.
Much. He kind of just went about his business on campus and joined this fraternity called Uzma Kappa. He wanted to be a scaring major, so he had to win the scare games in order to be a scaring major. So he had to join one. All the winning frats got invited by Roar to this party. And when Uzma Kappa got to the party, since they were pretty much the laughing stock of the fraternities, they had a plan to prank them by dumping glitter on them. And then they revealed that there was a rope and they were going to pull the rope and dump them in glitter. And guess who was the one that pulled the rope? None other than fucking Randall. Biggest lame on the planet.
Biggest snake on the planet. This man saying lame. This dude is a straight up. How are you gonna sit there and mess with somebody day one and switch up on them at the snap of a finger for no real reason? On people that could just trade up on you. He not realizing his own actions. He's switching up on Mike so quick. Yet, if they were to switch up on him, what is he gonna do? He can't go back to nobody else because it's either them or nobody. They see how you move.
Revealed himself with his invisibility powers and he just pulled the rope because he is now in with the cool guys for whatever reason. When I saw this happen, I just thought to myself, this is a crazy level of switch up, bro. And that is the lore behind why Randall is the villain in Monsters, Inc. He's just a bitch, bro. Randall is a bitch. Now we got Mr. Krabs. And as you know, Mr. Krabs will literally do anything for one penny. One penny, and he'll do it all. Despite all the years SpongeBob has been grinding at the Krusty Krab, working his ass off just to get a measly ass paycheck from Mr. Krabs, because we already know he's not paying him shit. But in the episode Born Again Krabs, this dude, Mr. Krabs, decides, you know what? I'm gonna sell SpongeBob's soul for a measly 62 cents. Like, what the hell are you gonna buy with 62 cents? A lollipop?
Like, bro,
hug juice? Can you even buy anything with 62 cents anymore? I don't know. But apparently that's what SpongeBob's soul was worth to Mr. Krabs.
Straight up pocket change and probably a little bit of lint. All it took for Mr. Krabs to switch up on SpongeBob. I forgot about that. I can't even lie. And he did something crazy like that before where he lost his missing penny, bro. Mr. Krabs is really about money to a whole different level. And SpongeBob doesn't even care about money. So we literally could pay him with thin air. That man could just blow air towards him and he'll accept that as a paycheck, bro. He won't care at all. Yet he will sit there and switch up on him for some change. Like, bro, I probably have that change right now if I was to go into one of my jeans. I could buy SpongeBob's soul. Not just a person. Bro took his entire soul for life.
What doesn't make sense to me is you have SpongeBob working his ass off for your business. Why the hell would you sell his soul for 62 cents?
Hey, you could use him to make even more money, bro.
I would be dipping as soon as possible. I would not be working for Mr. Krabs anymore. Now we got Lloyd becoming the Green Ninja in Ninjago. Now, I was not expecting to switch up at all. It was one of the biggest plot twists in Ninjago, besides Zane becoming a robot.
That was crazy. He had a younger me
shocked. I dead ass almost cried when I found that out. But if you don't know anything about Ninjago show at all, this dude, Lloyd, was the son of the villain, Lord Garmadon. And later on, he finds out that his destiny was to become the Green Ninja. And let's be honest, we all thought
people,
Kai was going to be the Green Ninja. We all did. He was extremely locked in on becoming the Green Ninja. But out of left field, it is revealed to us that Lloyd is actually the Green Ninja. And him, Zane, Cole, and Jay, their job is to protect Lloyd, who was a menace at the beginning of the show. He would just do mischievous
way more
things.
than
He
a
wasn't
menace.
really a huge threat or anything. He wasn't a force to be reckoned with, but still, nobody saw this coming. Now, I would think this is a good...
I'm gonna say, bro was like part 1 Naruto. If any of y'all have ever watched the anime, where he's just out here pulling pranks, doing a bunch of nothing. The only reason I called him more than a menace is because he was annoying. Anytime that kid was on screen, you would get irritated, not only because of what he's about to do, but because you take it away from the actual action. I want to watch Kai, Zane, all of them go and actually fight people of substance, not sit here and watch you trip on your own foot.
Of course. He went from, well, not really a villain, but not a good character, to one of the most important good characters in the show. Okay, so I surprisingly didn't talk about this in my Squid Games video because I just found this out like 3 days ago. I don't know how the hell I didn't know this, but apparently the old man or player 1 in Squid Games was the owner of the games. How the hell did I not know that? The entire show,
must have
I
just
thought
watched
this
the
old
show.
man
You
was a
years
great,
late.
upstanding citizen. He would help Gi-yoon a lot throughout the games. But apparently the reason why he played in the games was to quote unquote relive his childhood. What the hell? Okay, that just makes no sense. Apparently he reveals this to Gi-yoon later in the show, but my ass probably wasn't paying attention. How did I miss that? That's probably one of the most important parts of the show. This dude
definitely
was so rich and bored, he decided to play in his own games and also fake his own death in the games. This old man's logic, yeah, it makes no fucking sense to me. Why would you even want to do that? Now we got Gru from Despicable.
That's how you can really tell he did not watch the show. Bro only did that because he was about to die anyway. Don't get me wrong. If you have immense amounts of wealth, but you're talking about billions on top of billions on top of billions, to the point where they're able to host a game where they can sit there and slaughter people, and he was just going to participate and not really do anything at the end of the day, bro. The whole point of the game was to off people, and he was going to get offed regardless. So I could get it, bro. You just want to have a little bit of fun with your old health, and then immediately got switched up on by Giyu as he let you get offed in his head.
Despicable Me. Now, Gru, all he was concerned about at the beginning of Despicable Me was stealing the moon. What I don't understand to this day is why the moon? Why do you want the moon?
Makes no
is
real
it just to
sense,
say
bro.
you stole the moon and now you have it in your possession or something? I don't know. He was a villain towards the beginning of the movie, and initially he was going to like
Not even that
villain
good of a villain,
tryouts
if
and
we're
all
being
this other
honest,
shit.
bro.
He adopted the 3 girls as like, I guess, pawns for his plan to steal the moon or some shit. But later in the movie, Gru has a crazy character development. Eventually, he starts to care about the girls and starts to take care of them. And towards the end of the movie, he ended up saving them from getting kidnapped by Vector. And towards the end of the movie, he didn't give a damn about the moon. He just wanted to save them from Vector. Gru was so miserable at the beginning of the movie. He was just a bitch for the love of the game, bro. Like, he made some kid an animal balloon just to pop it afterwards. Like, who does
straight
that, bro?
asshole,
and then he froze
bro.
a bunch of people in a coffee shop. Gru did not give a single fuck. But by the end of the movie, he completely changed, which is crazy.
I don't even think Gru was that crazy of a villain, bro. If we're talking about actual villain status things, yes, bro. Making an animal balloon and then popping in some kid's face, bro, that's wild. He's gonna walk that off. Freezing people, that's where you actually take it a step up. But stealing the moon, he doesn't really do much noteworthy things outside of that, bro. And then he gets that taken from him. So it's nothing special. He really does nothing special.
Of course, Gru's switch up was a good switch up, definitely. All right, anyways, now we got Thomas from Regular Show. If you watched Regular Show at all, this shit definitely blew your mind. Like, I was not expecting this shit at all. It was one of the biggest plot twists of all time. But apparently, Thomas, the intern at the park that nobody suspected, was a Russian
and we just get
spy
bullied
the
and punked
entire time.
24/7.
Like, what the hell? I mean, it is Regular Show after all. Like, some of the craziest shit ends up happening. Even though on the surface, it just looks like an ordinary park job. Thomas was
beyond
getting
that,
intel
way
on the entire
beyond that,
time.
bro.
And their goal with Thomas getting an internship was to study American parks and then move the park to Russia or something like that. But at first, it was a bad switch up, okay? Thomas was not trying to see the park win. And after thinking about it and just realizing the amount of memories he made at the park, he decided to turn the park around and bring it back to the United States. So Thomas switched up and then switched back at the same time, which is kind of crazy. And after saving the park, Thomas just ran off into the sunset, I guess. I don't know. Now we got Don.
That switch up is pretty crazy. As a younger kid, bro, watching Thomas, you would expect a man when his introduction episode is him just getting punked, bullied, and played with 24/7, bro. Just seemed like a complete bitch. And yet he was letting people do it to him with no consequences, bro. He just allowed it to happen. The one time I remember Thomas actually being useful was during a prank war. That was it. Any other time he was not notable in any way, shape, or form. Like at any point.
Bellwether from Zootopia. Now, once again, nobody saw this shit coming because when I first saw the movie and I took one look at her at the beginning, does that look like a villain to you? Absolutely not. The last thing I was gonna think was this sheep that looks like an innocent librarian is gonna switch up on all of Zootopia.
She didn't look like she would hurt a fly for real.
But Dawn Bellwether had a villain arc throughout this movie because she was getting treated like shit by the mayor of Zootopia. And she was the assistant mayor. And despite that, she was still getting treated like garbage. And eventually she becomes the mayor. And then she decides to take advantage of her power. And she wanted to make animals that were considered prey completely dominant in Zootopia. Then animals that would hunt
is that
for prey
not
were
wild,
given this serum, I guess, that made them go completely rogue. And basically was trying to paint them as the common enemy. And at the end of the movie, Nick and Judy got the serum and that was pretty much it. Now we got Cobra Kai. Now there's a couple examples of switch ups that I wanted to bring up in this show. So the first example I wanted to talk about was John Kreese versus Terry Silver, of course. For those of you that haven't watched Cobra Kai, some of you might not know what the hell I'm talking about, so I'm gonna try to explain it as best as possible. But first of all, what happened was John Kreese decided that he wanted to come back to Cobra Kai. He wanted Cobra Kai from Johnny Lawrence, who was the current owner. And then he had Terry Silver come and help him. Now, him and Terry Silver were originally friends. Actually, they were best friends. Like, they literally went through thick and thin together just for Terry Silver to switch up on his ass, bro. And pretty much what he did to quote unquote help him run the dojo, he framed an assault on him and coerced the guy that he quote unquote assaulted to not say anything and blame it on John Kreese. And they fought a bunch of times after that, and John Kreese even sacrificed his own life just to stop him from making Cobra.
I've never in my life actually watched Cobra Kai. Is this not just a karate show? How do we go from framing people for assault all the way to sacrificing our lives on a boat? What, is this not a normal show that we're supposed to be fighting karate? And that switch up in general is pretty insane. How are you gonna sit there and be buddy with me, fight side by side? Apparently in karate, you know, hey, they had to be putting belt to straight ass, but all of a sudden you wanna frame me for assault? How do you even think about that? How do you even... That is one of the biggest blind sides in history. What are you supposed to do? What can you do?
For Kai Global. And what's crazy is a lot of the fights that happened in the show, like, bro, it's karate. It's not that serious. Like, they were taking this shit way too serious.
That's what
like,
I
John
thought.
Kreese literally said, I am Cobra Kai in one clip. You are Cobra Kai? Like, what the hell does that even mean? And not only that, everybody
is a normal person.
Like, there was this kid called Mitch. They called him fucking Peanuts Breath for some reason. He just switched up on his whole team in front of everybody. Like, that was crazy. And then there was this girl named Tori. She switched from Cobra Kai to Miyagi-Do. It was just complicated to keep up with, bro. Now we have King Candy.
None of them are holding anybody down.
Now the lore behind this guy was insane because apparently he invaded this game called Sugar Rush where he became King Candy, but his real identity was Turbo, which was a game that got shut down. And since his game got shut down, he got all jealous and started hopping into other games because he wanted to be the main character, I guess. And the characters in the movie are told to follow the script in the game, otherwise they would be quote unquote going turbo. Pretty much just meant pulling the same stunt he did. And this dude Turbo was probably one of the creepiest villains ever, bro. Like, he was mutating and shit because he was always game hopping, and it just weirded me out, bro. But yeah, that was pretty much it. If you enjoyed the video, watch this one right here about robots.
That last one, that Turbo one, again, all of these are just like a lot of kids movies, but at the end of the day, seeing that type of stuff blindside you like crazy, especially since King Candy, he just seemed like a normal dude who was doing his best to try and help Ralph get out of the game so he wouldn't go turbo. This is the main person that was trying to apparently help Ralph not go turbo. And at the end of the day, it just didn't matter because this nigga was a straight liar and a fake along with a snake who ended up getting dropped anyway. So, hey, at least he was gone by the end of the movie. But that is a W video. And if you want to watch the original, definitely check out my description so you can watch on your own if you want to. But if you want to support me, the best way to do it would be to give this video a like and to also subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can notify the millisecond a video goes live. That's enough for me. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.